So, there's really been something bothering me with RE9, and it revolves around this singular individual. He goes by the Commander, and he's encountered in the final section of the game while Leon's exploring the ARC facility. Obviously, when he first walked in, mine and everyone else's thoughts were, oh shit, that has to be Hunk, right? But there now seems to be some confusion among the community about whether this is actually true or not. When gameplay videos were first posted to YouTube, the uploaders just immediately assumed that this was Hunk, while many of you across X and Reddit weren't so sure of it. So in this video, I aim to clear up all that confusion and give you everything we currently have about the Commander and whether or not he truly is the Hunk that escaped Raccoon City all of those years ago. So let's get right into it. Before we get into the Commander of RE9, it's important to understand who Hunk is in the Resident Evil series. Here's a brief overview of his history inside of the games and how it leads up to where we are now. What we know about Hunk is actually pretty scarce. His real name, background, and personal history have never been revealed, making him one of the most mysterious operatives in Umbrella history. The earliest known record of Hunk appears in 1996, when he received training at the Military Training Center on Rockford Island. Over the next 2 years, he carried out several missions for Umbrella. In mid-September of 1998, Hunk served as the commander of Alpha Team, a unit of Umbrella's security service. Their mission, known as Operation Nest Wrecker, was to break into Umbrella's underground laboratory called Nest and retrieve the newly created G-Virus from its creator, Dr. William Birkin. However, Birkin resisted and they were forced to gun him down and take his samples. They began heading toward their extraction point through the underground tram system that led into the city's sewers, but they were soon attacked by a mutated Birkin, who injected himself with the G-Virus. One by one, the soldiers were killed as he attacked them in revenge for stealing his life's work. During the chaos, the virus case was dropped. Birkin consumed the G-Virus samples and crushed the T-Virus containers under his feet. The broken vials leaked into the sewer system, where the rats eventually became infected. Those rats would later spread the virus into Raccoon City's water supply, an event that helped trigger the citywide outbreak. Out of the entire Alpha Team, only Hunk and one other soldier named Goblin 6 survived the attack. Goblin 6 later died on September 30th during the outbreak, leaving Hunk as the final survivor of the mission. Despite the loss of his entire squad, Hunk showed little emotion. His only concern was completing the objective, returning a virus sample to Umbrella. About a week after the encounter with Birkin, a USS helicopter pilot contacted Hunk and arranged an extraction at the helipad on top of Raccoon City Police Station. The journey to the helipad was anything but easy. Hunk fought through hordes of infected creatures inside of the station, including a powerful T-103 Tyrant. He continued forward, eventually reaching the rooftop where he escaped and was extracted by the helicopter. Hunk was later tasked with delivering the virus sample to Christine Henry in Loire Village. Following the collapse of Umbrella in 2003, Hunk disappeared from the corporation's ranks but continued working as a mercenary. Over time, he became something of a legend among soldiers and operators. He even developed his own combat system called CQBZ, Close Quarters Quarantined Battle Zone, a fighting style designed specifically for combat in infected environments. The system combined traditional close quarters combat with specialized gear built for fighting bioorganic weapons. Even decades later, very little is still known about Hunk, but one thing remains consistent throughout every record of his missions. He always walks away as the last survivor, and he always works to complete the mission. Now, here's what we know about the Commander in RE9 and whether his character truly matches up with Hunk. From what we learn in the game, the Commander serves as the leader of the elite guard of the ARC facility. He's sent to neutralize Leon and secure elements tied to the Elpis project. When Leon starts to approach Elpis, the Commander meets him down a long corridor, intending to stop him from reaching the target. During a close physical confrontation, they tackle each other outside a window and reset the fight. The Commander then says this:
Leon Kennedy, we finally meet.
This implies that he has somehow heard about Leon over the course of the years. While this doesn't automatically confirm that he was indeed the Hunk from Raccoon City, it at least points to the fact that he knows Leon, he understands his skills and abilities, and likely that he has anticipated running into him at some point. One thing that a lot of people have mentioned is the way that the Commander acts during this confrontation is almost kind of aura farming, which is kind of uncharacteristic of Hunk if you look back in earlier titles. Take RE2 Remake for example. When you play as Hunk in the Ghost Survivors, his personality is very straightforward. He's a very no-nonsense, stick-to-the-mission, let's get this shit done type of guy.
Man, I thought you were all wiped out. I've been trying
I'm
to...
at point K12. Need info on my extraction.
Guess there's no keeping down the Grim Reaper, huh?
My extraction point.
Similarly, take a look at how he acts in Operation Raccoon City.
Come on! Birkin injected himself with the G-Virus. There's nothing you can do! Get out of here and make a full report to management!
What about you, sir? I lost the sample. I'm going back for it.
Hunk isn't the type of guy to play around. However, it's hard not to notice that when the commander interacts with Leon, he shows slight sportsmanship, not killing him when he could have had the chance to, when you would think he would try to finish Leon off as fast as possible. You could say that maybe he knew he met his match, and wanted to be on a fair playing field to see who was truly stronger. Because when you think of it, a hatchet fight is 100% a dick measuring contest. If he wanted to finish Leon off as fast as possible, he would have just immediately tried shooting at him. Instead, he was testing Leon, similar to how Krauser tests him during the knife fight in RE4. Again, this doesn't automatically exclude the commander from being Hunk, but it's definitely uncharacteristic of him. Now let's dissect his moveset a little bit. We obviously know he's skilled in close quarters combat, something that Hunk excels at in previous games. He can take on several enemies at once, but there's something very interesting about what the commander does during this fight. Once he throws a flashbang to stun Leon, he will then attempt to snap his neck from behind if your character doesn't struggle. This is known to be Hunk's finishing move, and he can be seen doing it across multiple titles. Furthermore, he even does this weird hand gesture after the neck snap.
What the hell?
That Hunk also does inside of the RE4 Remake Mercenaries mode. Again, it's not concrete evidence, but it is a really important piece of information. But it only gets crazier from here. Once Leon finishes the commander off by stabbing him in the neck, he also smacks him in the hand, removing his glove in the process. While examining his body on the floor, you can see that he has black marks all over his hands. They appear to be the same black veins present in Leon, a sign of the progressing T-virus infection of Raccoon City Syndrome. As explained in the lore, Raccoon City Syndrome is an affliction that affects those who were survivors of the 1998 Raccoon City outbreak. It is essentially a latent strain of the T-virus that lay dormant inside of its host, until it evolved to adapt against the host's antibodies, so symptoms would show up years after the prior infection. Hunk was down in the trenches of the Raccoon City outbreak, tasked with retrieving samples of the G-virus and then working to fight his way out of the infected city. So if anyone was infected with Raccoon City Syndrome, it was him. The fact that the commander dons these same marks is one of the most convincing pieces of evidence that we could find. But it gets even crazier. When the commander is defeated by Leon, your character is given his battle hatchet called the Mortal Edge. Its item description describes it as a formidable instrument of death. It has taken countless lives and is steeped in a long bloody history. This is honestly very Hunk-coded. If you recall back to past games, Hunk kind of gained a reputation for being a harbinger of doom. He was a person to be feared, so he was given nicknames like Mr. Death and the Grim Reaper. The hatchet used by the commander seems to be soft referencing these titles in a way. Here's another interesting bit of information. The voice actor for the commander in RE9, Keith Silverstein, is the same exact voice actor for Hunk in every past game appearance except for the original 1998 RE2 and 2005 RE4. This, in my opinion, is a pretty crazy tidbit of information. They could have easily gotten another voice actor for this character if it wasn't Hunk, but the fact that they decided to go with the original voice actor is very interesting. And if that wasn't enough, here's something else that I found. This is apparently in-game trigger notes that somebody was able to extract, but I wasn't able to reverse image search this to an original source, so really take this part with a grain of salt. It apparently refers to the commander as Hunk inside of the trigger notes, which if this source could get verified, it would be definitive proof, but it's kind of hard to say at this point. So with everything that was given to us, where does this actually leave us? In my opinion, I think the game is heavily alluding to the commander being Hunk. I don't think the developers would try to set up this epic battle with seemingly personal ties between the commander and Leon if they weren't at least trying to hint at the idea of it being him. Let's take everything into consideration. They both have the same voice actor, they're both skilled in close quarters combat, they both attempt to do the signature head snap. The commander has Raccoon City syndrome, meaning he was in Raccoon City during the outbreak, the same exact time that Hunk was. His hatchet has descriptions that allude to Hunk's nicknames, Grim Reaper and Mr. Death. The only thing that stops us from being 100% sure that this is indeed Hunk is the commander's demeanor. He seems not as serious as Hunk. Kind of juvenile, wanting to test if Leon is as strong and skilled as he is. Original Hunk would have tried to neutralize Leon as fast as possible. So here's what I think is happening. In my previous video, I talked about Zeno being a clone of Albert Wesker. In fact, several familiar enemies made a return as variants inside of RE9. I believe the commander is some type of clone of Hunk, made by the connections to protect Elpis, and serve as the head of their elite guard of soldiers. What better way to ensure the protection of your assets by cloning one of the most badass elite soldiers of the USS to guard it? The clone may have also been suffering from Raccoon City syndrome because the connections may have cloned Hunk before they realized he had the T-virus in him, effectively cloning the virus as well. Again, this is just my theory, but I think all signs either point to this outcome, or that it's just the original Hunk with a weird character flaw. But either way, I believe the commander has to be Hunk in some way, and this might not even be the last that we see of him either. He could still very well be alive. After Leon defeats the commander, you can return back to the battle room and discover that his body is gone. A pool of blood is all that remains. This could mean 3 things. 1, the commander is alive. 2, another employee came along and removed the body before you returned. Or 3, the game despawns the model on its own, not thinking that you would come back to check on the body. This one would be kind of weird considering that the commander's model is the only boss model that disappears in the game. But for those of you who were disappointed with Hunk's supposed quick and anticlimactic end, well, there's still some hope for you there. Only time will tell if we see this guy appear again. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to watch my video that proves that Zeno is a clone of Albert Wesker, then you can watch it right here. But take care, and I'll see you in a new one very soon.